Mornings in Green Valley always start the same way. I wake up at dawn when most of my neighbors are still asleep. At 77, you cherish each new day like a gift. Honestly, some days feel like a challenge, especially when my joints ache so badly that even getting to the bathroom becomes an accomplishment. My small house on Elm Street isn't what it used to be. The wallpaper in the living room has faded over more than 25 years. And the wooden porch steps creak louder every spring. Margaret, my wife, always promised to fix them, but she never got around to it before her heart attack. 7 years have passed, and I still talk to her in the morning sometimes, sharing the news as if she's just stepped out to the garden and will return soon. This is the house where our children, Michael and Laura, grew up. Everyone here remembers their footsteps, their laughter, and their fights. Now it seems like those lively, noisy days never happened. Laura drops by once a month, always in a hurry, always glancing at her watch. Michael shows up more often, but only when he needs something, usually money or a signature on some papers. Each time he swears he'll pay it back soon. But in 10 years, he never has. Today is Wednesday, the day I usually bake apple muffins. Not for me, since I can't eat that many myself. They're for Ethan, my grandson, the only one in the family who visits without ulterior motives, just to spend time with his old grandfather, drink tea, and talk about his college business. I hear the door slam, and I know it's him. Ethan has a special gait, light but a bit clumsy, as if he's not used to his tall stature yet. He inherited it from his grandmother. Grandpa Harold. His voice calls from the doorway. I smell the special muffins. Sure enough, I say with a smile, wiping my hands on my apron. Come on in. They're just the right temperature. Ethan bends down to hug me. Now I have to tilt my head back to look at his face. Strange. When did he get so big? How's school, I ask, seating him at the kitchen table. Still struggling with advanced math, I got an A on the latest exam, Ethan says proudly, eating his muffin. Professor Duval even asked me to do a research project. I always knew you were smart. I pour him tea. Your grandmother would be proud of you. Ethan falls silent for a moment, staring out the window at the old pear tree. I know what he's thinking. Margaret taught him to climb it when he was only 6. Michael yelled that we'd never do the boy any good. And Margaret just laughed. A boy has to be able to fall down and get back up. Grandpa, have you decided what you'll wear on Friday? Ethan suddenly asks, turning back to his muffin. Friday, I look at him, puzzled. What's on Friday? Ethan freezes with his fork in midair. A strange expression crosses his face, a mix of surprise and confusion. The dinner. It's Dad and Mom's wedding anniversary. 25 years. They have reservations at Oak Ridge. Didn't Dad tell you? I slowly sit down across from him, feeling something cold inside. My son's 25 years of marriage is an important day. Of course, they should celebrate. But why am I hearing about it from my grandson and not Michael himself? Maybe he'll call, I reply, trying to keep my voice cheerful. You know your father always procrastinates until the last minute. Ethan looks uncomfortable, picking at the remaining muffin with his fork. I guess he agrees. He nods without much conviction. We move on to other topics. Ethan talks about his plans for the summer, about a girl named Sophia he met at the library. I listen, nod, ask questions. But my thoughts keep returning to this dinner. Why hasn't Michael called? Does he really intend to celebrate without me? When Ethan leaves, promising to stop by over the weekend, I stand at the window for a long time, staring at the empty street. In the house across the road, Mrs. Fletcher, my age, plays with her grandchildren. Her daughter comes every Wednesday, bringing the kids. They're so noisy, running around the yard, and old Beatrice beams with happiness. I wish my children could be like that. The phone rings, interrupting my thoughts. I recognize Michael's number immediately. "Mom, it's me." His voice sounds a bit tense. "Hello, dear," I reply, trying to sound normal. "How are you? What are you up to?" "I'm fine." "Listen, I'm calling about Friday, so you'll ask. Finally, I'm getting out. I feel warmth inside. Maybe I was wrong to think badly of them. Maybe they were just running around and didn't tell me in advance. Susan and I are planning a little anniversary dinner," Michael continues. "But unfortunately, we'll have to cancel it. Susan caught some virus, fever, the whole thing. The doctor says she needs to stay home for at least a week." "Oh, that's terrible," I say, genuinely but sadly. Something in his voice makes me uneasy. Is there anything I can do to help? I can get some chicken broth or— No, that's okay," Michael interrupts hastily. "We have everything. I just wanted to let you know. We'll reschedule for another day when Susan feels better. Be sure to call me." "Of course, dear. Send my best wishes for a quick recovery." "I will. Okay, Dad, I have to run." He hangs up before I can say anything else. The conversation leaves a strange aftertaste. Something's off, but I can't pinpoint what. I spend the rest of the day flipping through old photo albums. Here's Michael at 4 years old, with a knocked-out front tooth and a proud smile. Here's Laura on her first bicycle. Margaret teaching them to swim in the lake. Christmas dinners when we all gathered together. When did things change? When did my children become so distant? That evening, I call Laura as usual to ask about Susan. Surprisingly, she knows nothing about her daughter-in-law's illness. "Dad, I have a lot to do at the shop before the weekend," she says impatiently. "If you want to know about Susan, call Michael. But you're coming to their anniversary on Friday. Aren't you?" I ask cautiously. The pause on the other end is too long. "Oh, that's what you mean. Yes. Of course," Laura finally replies. "Hey, I really have to go. I'll talk to you later." And then the short beep again. I stare at the phone, feeling growing anxiety inside. They're hiding something. Both of them. Thursday morning. I go to the local supermarket. I don't need groceries as much as to stretch my legs and clear my head. In the vegetable section, I run into Doris Simmons, an old acquaintance who works at the same flower shop as Laura. "Harold, long time no see," she exclaims, hugging me. "How are you? How's your health? Not bad for my age?" I smile. "You're still working with Laura?" "Of course. Tomorrow's my day off. Laura's taking the evening off for the family celebration." I hear 25 years is a big deal. I nod, trying to hide my confusion. So the dinner isn't canceled. So Michael lied to me. But why when I get home? I sit in the armchair for a long time, trying to figure out what's going on. Maybe they're planning a surprise for me. But why lie about Susan being sick, and why did Laura act so strange? The phone rings again, but it's not Michael or Laura. It's Ethan, Grandpa. I forgot to ask, did you see my blue notebook? I think I left it at your place last time. Let me check. I go to the living room where Ethan usually sits. I don't see it. Maybe it's in the kitchen. While I'm looking, Ethan keeps talking. If you find it, can you give it to Dad tomorrow? Dad will pick you up. Right, I freeze with the phone to my ear. Pick me up. Yes, for the dinner at Oak Ridge. I could drop by if you want, but I have class until 600. I'm afraid I'll be late for the start. I grip the phone tighter. Ethan, dear, I think you're confused. Michael told me the dinner was canceled. Susan is sick. Ethan is silent for a long time. Too long. Ethan, I call. Are you there, Grandpa? I don't understand. Dad called me an hour ago to ask if I could be at the restaurant at 7th on Oboro. No one canceled anything? I slowly sink into the couch. So that's it. I've just been decided not to invite. My own son lied to me so I wouldn't come to the family reunion and… Grandpa, are you okay? Ethan's voice sounds worried. Dear, you're fine. I try to keep my voice normal. I must have misunderstood something. You know, at my age, you get confused sometimes. I'm sure it's some kind of misunderstanding. Do you want me to call Dad and find out no? I reply hastily. No need. I'll talk to him myself. Don't worry. After the conversation, I sit in silence, looking at the picture of all of us together for a long time. Me, Margaret, the kids, happy, smiling. When did things go wrong? When did I become a burden to them? Better to leave at home than to bring to a family party. Resentment and bitterness rise inside, but I force myself to breathe deeply. Now is not the time for tears. Now is the time to think. If my children don't want me at the family reunion, then I've become a stranger to them, and I need to figure out why. I go to the closet where I keep old letters and documents. Among them is Margaret's will, insurance policies, papers about the house. Michael has hinted many times that I should sign the house over to him, for your own safety. Dad, Laura suggested I sell it and move to a nursing home. They'll take better care of you than we can. I've always refused, feeling there was something else behind those suggestions. Now, I think I'm starting to realize what it is. In the evening, the phone rings. This time, it's Susan, my daughter-in-law. Her voice sounds cheerful and full of energy for someone who has a fever and is bedridden. Harold, dear, how are you? Michael said he called you about Friday? Yes. He said you were sick and the dinner was canceled. I reply in an even voice. Yes. Susan confirms too hastily. Terrible virus. Just knocked me out. The doctor prescribed bed rest for at least a week. I hope you feel better soon, I say. Say hello to everyone. The others, I can hear the tension in her voice. Laura, Ethan, they're upset about the canceled vacation, aren't they? Oh, yes, of course. They're all very sad. But it can't be helped. Health is more important. Yes, Harold, I have to take my medicine. Feel better. I hang up the phone and look out the window at the darkening sky. Yes. Now I've confirmed. They're planning the dinner without me. They didn't even bother to come up with a plausible lie. I pull out from my closet the dark blue suit I haven't worn since Margaret's funeral. I try it on in front of the mirror. It still fits, though I've lost weight over the years. If my children think they can cut me out of their lives, they're sorely mistaken. Harold Jenkins hasn't said his last word yet, and tomorrow night promises to be interesting. Very interesting. I lay awake all night, not because of the pain in my joints, though that's there, not because of the insomnia that plagues people my age. I was awake because today's thoughts kept me from sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my children's faces gathered around the holiday table without me, laughing, raising glasses, telling each other how lucky they are to escape their old father for the evening. Friday morning is overcast. Heavy clouds cover the Green Valley sky as if reflecting my mood. I made tea, but it grew cold. Untouched. I don't feel like eating. Something inside me seems frozen, waiting for a decision I haven't made yet. What will I do tonight? Will I stay home as my children planned? Or… My gaze falls on Margaret's photo on the mantel. She's looking at me with that slight smile, head tilted a bit to the side, a gesture that always meant she had something important to say. What would you do, Margaret? I ask her silently. And I can almost hear the answer. Don't let them trample your dignity. Harold, you deserve better. I go to the window, outside. Mrs. Fletcher is walking her dachshund. When she sees me, she waves. I wave back, thinking about how few people are left in my life who are truly happy to see me. The phone rings, pulling me from my musings. It's Michael. Dad, good morning. His voice sounds suspiciously cheerful. How are you feeling? I'm fine, I reply. How's Susan? Is she better? There's a second pause. I can almost see him frantically recalling last night's lie. No, she's still the same. She's lying down with a fever. The doctor says it might take a while. That's a shame, I say with feigned sympathy. I was thinking of baking her a chicken pie and bringing it over. Nothing like a home-cooked meal for a cold. No, you don't have to, Michael replies hastily. We really have everything. I just called to see if you need anything. Maybe you're out of meds. Oh, so that's it. Checking if I'm going out tonight. Making sure I'm home while they celebrate without me. Thanks, son. I've got everything, I reply. I'll spend the evening reading. I've wanted to reread Agatha Christie for ages. That's a great idea, Michael says with obvious relief. Okay, Dad, I have to go to work. If you need anything, call me. I hang up and look at the clock. 10 Soundrita, mm. There's still plenty of time before tonight's dinner. It's time to think about how things got to this point. When did everything change? When did my children stop thinking about me? When did I go from being a father to a burden? Maybe it started after Margaret died. Michael and Laura came every day at first, helping with the funeral, the papers. But then their visits became less frequent. First once a week, then once a month. Laura always in a rush, always looking at her watch. Michael came more often, but his visits usually coincided with requests for money. Dad, it's Susan's birthday today. I want to give her a necklace, but we're short this month. Dad, our roof is leaking. We need repairs immediately, but all the money went to Ethan's college tuition. Dad, I've invested in a promising project, but we need to fix it now. I always gave, not because I believed his stories. They've become less and less credible over the years, but because I wanted to feel they needed me. At least that way, that they'd come to me, even if just for money. I pull an old notebook from the closet where I've written down all of Michael's loans, over more than 10 years. It's accumulated a large sum, money he'll never repay, and we both know it. With Laura, it's different. She doesn't ask for money directly, but every time I go to her flower shop, she insists I buy the most expensive bouquet. Dad, you don't want people to think I can't give my father nice flowers. Do you? And I buy every time? And then there's the medication issue. 5 months ago, the doctor prescribed new blood pressure meds for me. Expensive, but effective. Michael made a fuss about it. Dad, are you crazy? $300 a month for pills? That's outrageous. Let's find cheaper alternatives. I tried to explain that other drugs don't work for me, that I might be allergic, but he wouldn't listen. Laura backed him up. Dad, you have to be more frugal. We all have expenses. And this from people who change their cell phones to new models every month, who go on vacations to the Bahamas and brag about their new cars. My thoughts are interrupted by the doorbell. Sophia, Ethan's girlfriend, stands on the threshold, a sweet, shy girl with red hair and freckles. Hello, Mr. Jenkins. She fidgets with her bag strap. Ethan said he might have left his notebook here. Yes. Dear, come in. I let her inside. I was just going to look for it. Would you like some tea? While I brew tea, Sophia looks around the living room at the pictures. Is that Ethan as a kid? She asks, pointing to a photo of a 5-year-old boy holding a fishing rod. Yes, his first fishing trip with his grandmother. I smile, handing her a cup. He caught such a tiny fish, but he was as proud as if it were a shark. Sophia laughs, and for a moment, the house feels young and alive again. Mr. Jenkins, she suddenly says, Ethan really likes you. He talks about you all the time, about your stories, about how you taught him to bake. I feel tears welling up, but hold them back. He's a good boy. The only one. I hesitate, not wanting to badmouth my children to a stranger. He looks so much like his grandmother. Sophia helps me find Ethan's notebook. It turns out to be under the sofa cushion. As she leaves, She suddenly turns back at the door. I'll see you tonight. Ethan said you'd be at Oak Ridge too. I smile tensely. Yes. See, I have a bit of a headache. I'm not sure I can make it. After Sophia leaves, I stand by the window for a long time, watching her get into her car and drive away. Sweet girl. Sincere. She doesn't know I wasn't invited to the family gathering, that my own son lied to me so I wouldn't come. The decision comes suddenly. I look at the clock. It's nearly 2 p.m. The dinner is still 5 hours away, plenty of time to get ready. I pull out the dark blue suit I tried on yesterday. It still fits, though I've lost weight over the years. The low-heeled shoes I wore to Laura's wedding. The pearl necklace Margaret gave me for our 25th anniversary. No. Wait, that's not right. The tie Margaret gave me for our 25th anniversary. I won't sit at home feeling sorry for myself. I want to see for myself how my children are celebrating without me. I want to make sure it's not a misunderstanding, but a conscious choice of theirs. At 500, I call a taxi. The driver is a young guy with tattoos on his arms, looking at me in surprise when I give him the address. Oak Ridge. Really? Sir, prices there. I know the prices. Young man, I say firmly. And I'm not your grandfather. He shrugs and asks no more questions. I stare out the window the whole way, watching the streets of Green Valley change. From my modest neighborhood of small houses to the downtown with modern glass and concrete buildings, Oak Ridge is in the suburbs in a picturesque spot by the river. It's starting to get dark when the taxi stops at the restaurant. I ask the driver not to pull up right to the entrance, but to stop a little to the side. Wait for me here, please, I say, handing him money. I won't be long. Oak Ridge is the most expensive and prestigious restaurant in Green Valley. It's a 2-story red brick building buried in greenery with a terrace overlooking the river. Only special occasions are held here: anniversaries, engagements, important business deals. I don't go to the entrance. Instead, I walk around to the other side of the building where the parking lot is for guests. I spot their cars immediately. Michael's silver Lexus, Laura's red Ford, Ethan's old Honda. They're all here. All of them except me. The pain of realization is so sharp it takes my breath away for a moment. This isn't a mistake, not a misunderstanding. They really decided to celebrate without me, lied to me to stay home. I walk slowly to the restaurant window. The curtains don't show what's happening inside, but one side of the curtain isn't fully drawn, leaving a narrow gap. I stand in the shadow of a tree, looking at my family through that gap. They're sitting at a large, round table in the middle of the room. Michael at the head. Susan next to him. Healthy. Smiling. No sign of illness. Laura and her husband, Ethan and Sophia, and a few others I don't know. Apparently friends of Michael and Susan. They're laughing. They're raising champagne glasses. They're enjoying the evening without a thought of me. The waiter brings out a seafood platter, then another with some fancy meat dish. On the table are expensive wine bottles. I know the prices at this restaurant. A dinner like this costs a month's rent for an apartment. We're short on money. Dad, can you help with the bills? Dad, those meds are too expensive. Let's find something cheaper. All this time they've been lying to me, pretending they're barely making ends meet, begging me for money for emergencies while spending hundreds on restaurants, trips, new cars. I watch Michael raise a toast. Everyone laughs, claps. Susan kisses him on the cheek. Laura adds a joke again. I suddenly remember last year when I asked Michael to help fix the leaking roof. He said he couldn't right now, that he was having financial difficulties. I waited 3 months until the roof started leaking so much I had to put buckets under it. Finally, I hired a repairman myself, spending most of my savings. And when I had a mild heart attack last winter, Laura couldn't come to the hospital because she had an important order at the shop. Ethan then sat by me all night, holding my hand. And now they're all together. Cheerful. Happy. celebrating without me, as if I don't even exist anymore. I notice Ethan looking around as if searching for someone. Then he leans to Sophia, asking something. She shakes her head. They're talking about something. A worried expression appears on Ethan's face. He pulls out his phone, looks at the screen, then puts it back in his pocket. At that moment, the waiter brings out a large cake with candles. Everyone claps and laughs. Michael puts his arm around Susan. They kiss. 25 years together. 25 years. And they couldn't find a seat at the table for the man who raised Michael. I feel a tear roll down my cheek. I brush it away with an annoyed gesture. Now is not the time for tears. Now is the time for a decision. Stepping away from this window, I walk slowly toward the restaurant entrance. A young man in uniform stands at the door, apparently the manager or head waiter. "Good evening, sir," he says politely. "Do you have a reservation? I'm here for the Jenkins family." I reply, "They're celebrating a wedding anniversary." He checks the list on his clipboard. "Yes, they're in the main hall. Do you, He hesitates, looking at me inquiringly. "I'm Michael's father," I say firmly. "Harold Jenkins?" "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Jenkins?" He becomes respectful immediately. "Please come in. Your family is already here." "My family?" I think bitterly as I step into the spacious restaurant lobby. The family that doesn't want to see me. A family that lies to me. But in a moment, they'll see me. And it'll be a night they'll remember. Because Harold Jenkins isn't the kind of man you can toss out of your life like an unwanted old thing. And it's time my children realized that, standing at the main hall door, I pause for a moment. Music, laughter, the clink of glasses, the sounds of joy even come through the heavy oak door. Just one more step, and I'll ruin their perfect evening. Should I do it? Should I turn back and leave with what little dignity I have left, but something inside me, a steel thread running through my life, won't let me? I'm not one to back down. I never have been. Even when Margaret died, leaving me alone with huge medical bills, I didn't give up. I didn't ask the children for help, though I could have. I managed on my own. Now I can handle this too. But I won't burst in there like a fury. No, that would be too easy and predictable. I want this evening to be a lesson for them. A lesson they'll never forget. "Mr. Jenkins?" A voice behind me startles me. I turn around. Standing before me is a tall man in his 60s with a neatly trimmed gray beard and keen gray eyes. He wears a perfectly tailored dark suit with a small gold pin in the shape of an oak branch. The restaurant's logo? Robert. I can't believe my eyes. Robert Harrington. In the flesh. He smiles, bowing slightly. "I'm glad you remember me." How could I forget Robert Harrington is a Green Valley legend, a former chef who opened the most successful restaurant in town. But to me, he's always the shy boy from across the street who came to borrow books and eat apple muffins. "You haven't changed a bit," I say, though that's not true. The boy has grown into a stately man. Time has left marks on his face, but his eyes are the same. But you, Harold, have become even more handsome. He replies with that special gallantry that doesn't seem fake. "Blue has always been your color." I touch the tie involuntarily. For the first time all evening, I don't feel like an angry old man, but just a man. "Are you alone?" Robert asks, glancing around the lobby. "I thought you'd come with your son and his family. They're celebrating their anniversary today." "Right. Oh, so you know about that," I ask, trying to keep my voice normal. Of course, I personally handled organizing their party. 25 years is a big deal. I want it to be perfect. I feel a lump in my throat. Robert must have noticed the change in my face because his smile is replaced by a concerned look. Is something wrong? Harold. I want to lie, to say nothing's wrong, that I'm just late, but somehow I can't. There's been too many lies in this story already. I wasn't invited. Robert, I say quietly. My son told me the dinner was canceled because his wife was sick, but I found out the truth by accident. There's real indignation on Robert's face that makes me feel a wave of gratitude. There must be some mistake, he says firmly. Surely a misunderstanding. Michael couldn't. He could. I interrupt him. And he did. I saw them all through the window. They're having a great time without me. Robert frowns, his eyes darkening. This is unacceptable, he says in a tone that brooks no argument. Absolutely unacceptable. He offers me his arm. Let me escort you. Harold, the father of the guest of honor shouldn't stand in the hallway. I hesitate. It's one thing to have a confrontation and quite another to drag a stranger into it. Robert, I don't want to cause problems for your restaurant. The only problem here is disrespect to your parent, he interrupts. My restaurant isn't a place where I'll allow that. If I can help it. He offers me his arm again, and this time I take it. The touch is warm and steady, like an anchor in a stormy sea. How do you want to do this? Robert asks as we stop at the hall door. Just walk in, or can I arrange something special? I hesitate. I don't want to make a scene. I don't want to yell or cry or accuse. That would be too easy. They'd probably think if I found out the truth, I'd explode in tears or cause a scandal. Either way, I could be accused of incompetence. Hysterical old age? No, I won't give them that pleasure. I want to walk in quietly, I say, like the guest of honor I'm supposed to be. No announcements, no fanfare, just appear. Robert nods understandingly. The perfect choice. Elegance is always more effective than drama. He squeezes my hand lightly. Ready, I take a deep breath and nod. Ready. Robert opens the door, and we step into the hall. The first thing I notice is the abundance of flowers. White and cream roses, lilies, orchids. They're everywhere. In tall vases on the tables, in garlands on the walls, even cascading from the ceiling, creating the impression of a blooming garden. The soft light from crystal chandeliers reflects in the silver and crystal, creating an almost magical atmosphere. My family's table is in the center of the room. It's round, decorated especially lavishly, with a birthday cake in the middle. Michael sits at the head in a gray suit I've never seen before. Next to him is Susan in an elegant burgundy dress with a new necklace around her neck. Obviously an anniversary gift. Laura and her husband, Ethan and Sophia, and a few others I don't know. They don't notice us right away. They're too absorbed in the toast Michael is giving. Something about love overcoming difficulties, about family values and mutual support. Robert leads me straight to their table. We walk slowly, with dignity. I can feel the stares of other patrons, but I pay no attention to them. All my attention is on my family. Ethan notices me first. His eyes widen in surprise, and he jerks as if he wants to stand up, but something stops him. Then Sophia, sitting next to him. She pales and tugs Ethan's sleeve. Michael is still speaking, not noticing the change in atmosphere. But then Laura looks up, and her hand with the wine glass freezes midway. One by one they notice me. Their faces change. Surprise, confusion, then fear. Yes, fear. They're afraid of the scene, afraid of embarrassment in front of the other guests. Finally, Michael, sensing the tension, turns around. And that's why I want to say his voice trails off as he sees me. Robert steps forward. I apologize for the intrusion, Mr. Jenkins. His voice is perfectly polite. but there's a note of steel. It seems your father is a bit late for the celebration. I've taken the liberty of escorting him to your table. There's silence. A thick silence you could touch. All eyes are on us. Dad, Michael finally manages, his face pale as the tablecloth. But you said you'd stay home. I changed my mind, I say calmly. I decided I want to congratulate my son and daughter-in-law on their 25th wedding anniversary. It's an important day. Robert pulls out a chair for me between Ethan and a middle-aged woman I don't recognize, apparently a friend of Susan's. Thank you. Robert, I say, sitting down. You've always been so thoughtful. Always at your service. Harold, he says with a slight bow. Then he turns to the others. I'll have another appetizer brought and perhaps a bottle of our best champagne. Of course. With those words, he leaves, leaving us in heavy silence. Michael is the first to recover. Dad, he begins, his voice sounding falsely cheerful. What a surprise. We thought you weren't feeling well. I feel fine, I reply, looking him straight in the eyes. Susan, on the other hand, seems to have recovered remarkably quickly, even this morning. She had such a high fever. Susan blushes and lowers her eyes. She's always been a poor actress. By lunchtime I felt better. She mumbles, miraculous. Truly a miracle. I nod. Especially since Doris Simmons saw you at the supermarket yesterday. Perfectly healthy. Laura sets her glass down with a thud on the table. Dad, her voice taut like a string. Maybe we shouldn't. Don't, dear. I turn to her. Tell the truth. You always taught your son that lying is wrong. Remember, a waiter approaches the table with an extra plate and a bottle of champagne. As he sets the plates and glasses, everyone remains silent. Smiling, strained smiles. The perfect family. People who love each other. What a delusion. Grandpa, Ethan whispers, leaning toward me as the waiter leaves. I didn't know. I thought you knew about the dinner. I know, dear, I reply just as quietly, squeezing his hand under the table. It's not your fault. Michael clears his throat, drawing everyone's attention. Well, now we're all here. He emphasizes all with a faint note of discomfort. Let's continue the party. Dad, you arrived just in time for dessert. He signals the waiter, and he starts cutting the cake. Very large, with a bride and groom figurine on top. It must have cost a fortune. What a beautiful cake. I say, taking a plate with a slice. Must be expensive. Not at all. Dad? Michael says too quickly. It wasn't expensive at all. Just a small family gathering. Nothing fancy. I look around the table with the elaborate dishes. Crystal glasses, flower arrangements. Yes, I can see how modest it is. I nod. And how many guests, and I thought you were having financial difficulties. Isn't that why you asked me for $1,500 last month for car repairs? If I'm not mistaken, one of the guests coughs. The woman next to me, Susan's friend, looks at Michael curiously. Dad? He grits his teeth, still trying to keep a smile. Can't we discuss this later in a family circle? Aren't we a family circle? I'm genuinely surprised. Or am I no longer considered part of the family? I'm sorry. I guess I missed the memo. Of course you're part of the family, Laura interjects. Her voice sounds too loud, too falsely cheerful. We just thought it would be tiring for you. At your age, late dinners, noise. At my age, I repeat slowly. Yes, of course. My age. Interesting that it didn't stop me from watching your cat last month while you were on a weekend spa trip, or helping Michael with his tax returns, or lending him $1,500 he never repaid. There's silence again over the table. Michael fidgets with his cufflinks, avoiding my eyes. Susan suddenly becomes interested in the pattern on the tablecloth. "We wanted to invite you," Michael finally says, sounding remorseful. "I just didn't think you'd be comfortable. You don't like noisy gatherings." "Do you? I don't like noisy gatherings," I interject. Strange. Who threw the annual family Christmas dinners, who organized barbecues for the whole neighborhood, who gathered guests for your mother's birthday, even when she was in the hospital? Michael falls silent. He has nothing to say. "It's not because of my age or because I don't like gatherings," I continue in a soft but firm voice. "It's because you didn't want to see me. Easier to lie than to invite your father." "Dad." "That's not true," Laura begins, but I raise my hand to stop her. "I'm not done, dear. I didn't come here to make a scene. I didn't come to ruin your party. I came to understand." I look around their faces, tense and confused, fearful. I want to understand when my children became people who can lie to their father's face, who can exclude him from a family celebration like some inconvenient obligation. I pause for a moment, searching for a word, like some inconvenient duty. "Grandpa," Ethan whispers. "I didn't realize they hadn't invited you. I swear I thought you were just running late." I put my hand on his shoulder. "I know, dear. This has nothing to do with you." At that moment, Robert approaches the table with a bottle of champagne. "I hope everyone's enjoying the evening," he asks, though it's clear from his face that he senses the tension at the table. "Everything's fine." "Robert," I reply with a sincere smile. "Wonderful restaurant. Excellent service. Always the best for you." "Harold." He pours my glass with champagne. "I remember how your muffins saved me from eternal teenage hunger when I was a kid. No one in Green Valley bakes like you." I feel warmth creep to my cheeks. For the first time all evening, a real smile appears on my face. "You've always been generous, Robert. Even as a child," he smiles back, but his eyes are serious, understanding. Then he turns to Michael. "Mr. Jenkins, may I ask why you didn't list your father on the guest list?" There was some confusion with the seating arrangements. Michael chokes on his champagne. "Well, it was a misunderstanding," he mumbles. "Dad was supposed to come. Of course. Just this morning he said he wasn't feeling well." "Strange," Robert continues casually. "I thought he said you told him you'd canceled the dinner because of your wife's illness." Susan makes a strange sound, something between a cough and a sob. Laura stares at her plate, as if it holds the answers to all the universe's questions. Clearly some kind of misunderstanding. Michael says. His face flushes red. "Clearly," Robert agrees dryly. "Well, the important thing is, we're all here now. Enjoy your evening." He squeezes my hand again and walks away, leaving us in even more tense silence than before. Michael is the first to break it. "Dad, I can explain." He begins. "Susan and I wanted this evening in a small circle." A small circle of 12 people, I clarify, looking around the table. I mean, without the older generation, he continues awkwardly. "No Susan's parents?" "No." "You're lying," I say, calmly. "Lying again." "Susan's parents died 4 years ago, and you know it. I was at both funerals. And your in-laws," I nod toward Laura's husband. "I can see them at that table over there. They waved to me when I entered." Michael pales even more, if that's possible. "Dad," Laura intervenes, "we didn't mean to offend you. We just thought you might not be comfortable. You've been complaining about your health lately, and we all sometimes complain about our health." "Dear," I say, "but usually the people closest to us ask how we feel, not decide for us." I sip the champagne. It's excellent, dry with a light citrus and vanilla aroma. "You know what's the saddest part?" I continue. "Looking at my children. Not that you didn't invite me. That you lied, instead of honestly saying, "Dad, we want to spend tonight without you." You made up a story about illness. Made me worry about Susan's health. Call to offer help. I shake my head. I always taught you to be honest, even if the truth is uncomfortable, even if it might hurt someone, because lies destroy trust. And without trust, there's no family. Dad. Michael's voice trembles. You just didn't want your old father to spoil your party. I finish for him. I understand. I really do. But you know what? You could have told me that straight. I would have understood. Maybe I would have been sad. But I would have understood because I've always respected your right to make decisions. Even if I disagree with them. I finish the champagne and set my glass on the table. But instead, you chose to lie. And now that I'm sitting here, I see more than just those lies. I see all the times you've lied to me over the years. When you asked for money for emergencies and spent it on entertainment. When you said you couldn't visit because of important work and were out of town for the weekend. Michael tries to say something, but I stop him with a gesture. I don't want to hear excuses. Son, I'm just curious. When did you stop respecting your father? The question hangs in the air. Michael looks at me with the expression of a man caught red-handed. Susan fidgets with her napkin, avoiding my eyes. Laura looks like she might fall through the floor. Dad, Michael finally says, his voice dropping to a whisper. Don't make a scene. We can talk about this later in a more appropriate setting. A more appropriate setting, I repeat. Feeling a cold resolve growing inside. Not even anger, but a chilly determination. You mean when there are no witnesses around, I mean, when we can all calmly discuss the situation. His tone becomes condescending, as if talking to a naughty child. You're upset, understandably, but this isn't the time or place. And when is the time and place? Michael, I say softly but firmly. When you stop coming to me for 5 minutes to ask for money, or when Laura drops by for a cup of tea, glancing at her watch. Laura flinches as if I've slapped her. That's not fair. Dad, she says in a trembling voice, I have the shop. I have things to do. Everyone has things to do. Dear, I say. But people usually make time for those they love. Ethan squirms uncomfortably in his chair. His girlfriend Sophia is staring at us all with wide eyes, clearly feeling out of place. Maybe I should go, she says softly, leaning toward Ethan. No, stay. I touch her arm lightly. This has nothing to do with you, and I won't make a scene like Michael fears. I look around the table. The guests farther from us have returned to their conversations, ignoring us. But our part of the table, the children, their spouses, a few close friends, are all looking at me, waiting for me to continue. I just want you to know that I understand. I continue, looking straight at Michael and Laura. I realize I've become a burden to you, an unpleasant reminder that we're all aging. I realize it's easier to pretend I don't exist than to acknowledge that one day you'll be like me. Dad, that's not true. Michael tries to protest, but I shake my head. Let me finish. Son, I've been silent for a long time. Now it's my turn to speak. I sip some water, gathering my thoughts. I know you talk about me behind my back. I know you discuss my deteriorating condition and quirky things. Mrs. Dawson, your neighbor. I nod toward Michael and Susan. Happened to mention it when we met at the pharmacy. She was very concerned when she heard you say, I'm starting to lose my mind. Susan pales. Harold, it's not like that. We were just worried. Never mind. Dear, I interrupt her gently. I know the truth. Just like I know that you and Michael have been looking for a nursing home for me. Golden years. Right? The administrator is an old high school friend of yours, if I'm not mistaken. Michael looks pale now. He throws a quick glance at Susan as if asking how I could know. "It was just in case," he mumbles. "We wanted to be prepared in case you need help. Without my knowledge." I finish for him. "Without a single conversation with me about my wishes. You decided everything for me. As if I'm no longer capable of deciding for myself." I turn to Laura. "And don't think I don't know about your conversations with the real estate agent about my house, about how it could be sold when I go, or when I move to a place where I'll be taken care of." Laura blushes. "Dad, I was just inquiring about real estate prices." "Of course you were." I nod. "And the fact that the real estate agent was looking at my house while I was at the doctor's is just a coincidence." There's dead silence at the table. Even the guests I don't know seem to hold their breath. "Where did you?" Michael begins, but stops. How do I know I finish for him? I have eyes and ears, son, and neighbors, unlike my children who care about me. Mrs. Fletcher saw the real estate agent walking around the house taking pictures. She called me because she was worried. I pull an envelope from my pocket. A plain white envelope. Nothing remarkable. But my children stare at it like it's a ticking bomb. You know, the sad thing is you think I'm a helpless old man who can't take care of himself. I place the envelope on the table. You think I don't see your neglect. I don't notice how you avoid my calls. I don't realize your infrequent visits are more an obligation than a desire. Dad, it's not like that. Laura tries to take my hand, but I pull away. It is exactly like that. Dear, and you've been wondering why for a long time. Why my children, whom I raised with love, whom I gave everything I could, treat me like a burden. And I realized it's the house Michael and Laura exchange glances. The house Michael asks cautiously. Our family home, I explain. Where you grew up. The place where every floorboard holds memories of your childhood. Memories you're so eager to inherit. I open the envelope and pull out some documents. Both of you are just waiting for me to either die or become so helpless that you can shove me into golden years and take over the house. I spread the papers before me. You never asked what I want, what my plans are. You just decided everything for me. Dad? What are you talking about? Michael asks anxiously. What plans? I take the first document and place it on the table in front of the children. I've sold the house. I say simply. There's such silence you could hear a pin drop. Michael freezes with his glass in hand. Laura makes a strange sound. Something between a sob and a cough. What do you mean, sold it? Michael finally squeezes out. You can't. You wouldn't. But I did. I reply calmly. 2 days ago. Mr. Jenkins, my lawyer, arranged everything quickly. The house was bought by a young couple with 2 kids. Lovely people full of plans and hopes. They'll breathe new life into it. But what about you? Where will you live? Laura looks like she's about to cry. Oh, don't worry about me. Dear, I smile. I've rented a small apartment near the center, near the library. You know how much I love reading. An apartment. Michael looks at me as if I've said I'm moving to Mars. But the house, it's our family home. Mom wanted it to stay in the family. Your mother wanted you to be happy, I say firmly. And for her children to grow up to be good people. One of those wishes I could fulfill. I take the second document. But as for the money from the sale of the house, Michael leans forward, his eyes gleaming with greed. Even in a moment like this, all he can think about is money. I've donated it to build a new wing of the city library. I show him the donation document. It will bear your mother's name. Margaret always loved books. It's a fitting tribute to her. What do you think? Michael looks at me as if I'm speaking a foreign language. But that's a lot of money. Yes. Nearly $400,000. I nod. The house was well maintained, and the neighborhood is popular with young families. And you just gave it away, Laura looks stunned. But Dad, it could secure your future. I've secured your future, dear. I finish for her. But you have a future, dear. You have jobs, you have homes, you have cars, you have everything you need. I glance at Ethan, who sits with his head bowed. He looks sad, but not because of the money, because of the whole situation. I have thought about the future, though. I continue, pulling out a third document. I've changed my will. Michael and Laura exchange glances again, this time with undisguised hope. Maybe they think I've left them something else. Some savings, jewelry, whatever. Everything I have left, my personal savings, jewelry, furniture, I've left to Ethan. I place a copy of the will on the table. To the only member of this family who doesn't see me as a source of inheritance, but as a human being. Ethan looks up, tears in his eyes. Grandpa. I don't need, I know, dear, I say gently. That's exactly why you'll get it. Don't worry. There's not much there, but enough to help you get a start on your own. I turn to the others. Their faces show every shade of emotion: shock, disbelief, disappointment, anger. You thought I didn't notice how you treat me, I say quietly. You thought I was too old and foolish to understand your plans, but I've seen it all. Over all these years. Every time you avoided my calls. Every time you made excuses not to visit. Every time you lied to my face. I put the papers back in the envelope. And you know what's the saddest part? I still love you despite everything. Because you're my children. But love doesn't mean you have to let others trample your dignity. That's what your mother taught me. And that's what I tried to teach you. Michael is the first to regain speech. Dad, this is crazy. He tries to keep his voice low, but there's panic in it. You can't just take everything away from us because of a misunderstanding. Is it a misunderstanding? I look at him with genuine surprise. You consider years of neglect a misunderstanding. Lying about tonight. A misunderstanding. Talking behind my back about my dementia, a misunderstanding too. Dad? We're worried about you, Laura interjects. Her voice trembles, but her eyes are dry. You live alone in a big house. It's hard for you to take care of it. And that's why you decided to sell it without asking me. I interrupt. Worry looks different. Dear, worry is when you call every day to see how I am. When you offer to help instead of waiting for me to become helpless so you can run my life. Susan, who has been silent until now, suddenly speaks up. Harold, you're being unfair. We've always treated you with respect, always cared. Have we? I turn to her. Then why? When I needed money for meds not covered by insurance, did Michael say you were having financial difficulties, and then a week later you flew to the Bahamas? Susan blushes and lowers her eyes. It was a planned vacation. She mumbles. We couldn't cancel, of course. I nod. Vacations are more important than an old father's health. I understand. I stand up from the table, gathering my things. Well, I won't ruin your vacation with my presence anymore. I've said everything I needed to say. You're leaving. Laura looks confused. But what about the money? It's gone. Dear, I finish for her. The house, the savings you were waiting for. Only me, your father, who has finally decided to live for himself instead of waiting for you to find 5 minutes in your schedule to visit me. Ethan jumps up. I'll walk you out. Grandpa. Thanks, dear, but you don't have to. I touch his shoulder gently. Stay. Finish the dinner. I'll see you tomorrow. I turn to the others, and maybe not with you. It's up to you. I walk toward the exit, feeling the stares not only of my family but of the other diners too. But I don't care. For the first time in years, I feel free. Free from expectations, from disappointments, from the endless waiting for attention and care that will never come. Robert is waiting for me at the exit, leaving already. "Harold?" he asks with a slight sadness in his voice. Not because of the service quality, I hope. The service was excellent. "Robert," I reply sincerely, "as it always is with you, I just need to get home. Let me call you a taxi," he says, leading me outside in I appreciate it. While we wait for the taxi, Robert looks at me intently. The atmosphere at your table was tense. Family matters. I smile weakly. Sometimes the truth is bitter, but necessary. He nods. "Like bitter medicine?" "Exactly." I agree. Like bitter medicine. The taxi pulls up, and Robert politely opens the door for me. "Harold, you know, I've always admired you," he says suddenly. "When I was a boy, you were always so real, no pretense, no lies." "Thanks." "Robert, I'm touched by his words. It means a lot to me. I heard about the project for the new library wing." He adds, "It's a wonderful idea. Margaret would be proud." I'm stunned as I sit in the taxi. "You know about it. Green Valley is a small town." "Harold?" He smiles gently. "People here know everything, especially when it comes to such a generous contribution." I nod, feeling strangely relieved that the news has spread. No turning back now? It was the right thing to do, I say, getting into the taxi. The only right decision. "I have no doubt," Robert says seriously. "And Harold, if you want to talk or have a cup of tea, my door is always open. I'll remember that. I promise." As the taxi drives away, I don't look back at the restaurant. I don't want to see if my children came out to say goodbye or stayed inside discussing what happened. In the end, it doesn't matter anymore. I've done what I should have done long ago. I've taken back control of my life. And though my heart is heavy with the realization of what my children have become, I feel strangely relieved, as if I've shed a burden I've carried for all these years. The taxi turns the corner, and the Oak Ridge restaurant disappears from view, a part of my life where I let others decide for me. The part where I waited for attention and love from those who couldn't or wouldn't give it. The spring sun peeks through the window of my new apartment, filling it with warmth and light. I sit in the armchair with a cup of morning tea, watching the city come alive. From the 3rd floor, I have a beautiful view of Green Valley Central Square with its neat flower beds and ancient fountain. Across the street from me is the City Library building, my new second home. 3 months have passed since that night at the Oak Ridge restaurant. 3 months since I turned a new page in my life and started writing a new chapter. The change wasn't easy. I'd lived in the same house my whole life. Every corner held memories. But in a strange way, this small apartment with light walls and minimal furniture gives me a sense of freedom I haven't felt in years. The phone rings, interrupting my thoughts. I glance at the screen. Michael, the 4th call this week. I let the phone ring without answering. Let him leave a message if it's really important. After that night at the restaurant, it's like my children woke up. Suddenly, they remembered I exist. At first, there were angry phone calls. How could I do this? Sell the house, deprive them of their inheritance. Then, when they realized anger didn't work, they started trying to ingratiate themselves. Michael would come with flowers and a guilty look, talking about misunderstandings and how they really love me. Laura calls every day, offering to help set up my new apartment, inviting me to lunch. Even Susan sent a fruit basket and an apology card. I haven't rejected their reconciliation attempts outright. I've just kept my distance. I've accepted the gifts with a polite smile. But I'm not rushing to re-establish old relations. They need to realize that trust, once broken, doesn't regenerate miraculously. Besides, I understand very well the real reason for their sudden concern. They hope I haven't had time to process the money from the house sale, that the donation to the library was just a threat. Michael even cautiously asked if I was too hasty in deciding on such a large donation. And when I confirmed that the deal was done and the money transferred to the library's account, his face changed as if a mask had fallen. For a moment, I saw the real Michael, the calculating one, interested in money. The phone rings again. This time, it's Ethan. Good morning, Grandpa. His voice sounds cheerful despite the early hour. How are you today? Good morning. Dear, I smile involuntarily. Beautiful as always. I'm admiring the view from the window and thinking about the day ahead. You remember today is the opening of the new wing at the library. I can hear the excitement in his voice. I'll pick you up at 3 Autozorid as we agreed. Of course I remember. I glance at the suit I've prepared for the ceremony. Dark blue with a subtle silver pattern. Everything's ready now. After a short conversation with Ethan, I'm back to my tea. The opening of the new library wing is an important event for me. The Margaret Jenkins Wing, as it will be called. A place where children can discover the world of books like Margaret did. She would be so pleased to know her name is associated with something so meaningful. Finishing my tea, I start getting ready for my morning shift at the library. 3 times a week. I volunteer there, helping in the children's section. I read fairy tales to the kids, help school children choose books, and sometimes just talk to teenagers who come to the library not so much for books as for the quiet and understanding they lack at home. This work has given me a sense of being needed that I've been deprived of for too long. Children don't see me as a burden, not as a source of inheritance, but as someone who can give them something. Knowledge, attention, kindness. On my way to the library, I run into Martha Finch, my new friend and fellow resident, a dynamic widow in her 70s. A former math teacher. She's one of the people who helped me settle into the new place. Harold. She waves to me. I'm going to the bakery for fresh bread. Do you want me to bring you anything? Thanks. Martha, I'm fine. I smile. I have a big day today, and I'll have lunch in town after the opening. Oh, yes. Today is your Margaret Wing opening. She nods. That's so good of you. Harold, such a generous contribution, a wonderful tribute to your wife. I thank her and continue to the library after that night at the restaurant. News of my donation spread quickly through Green Valley. People's reactions varied. Some think I'm a hero. Some think I'm a crazy old man who deprived his own children of their inheritance. But I don't care. I know I did the right thing. At the library, preparations for the opening ceremony are in full swing. Workers are setting up the stage in front of the new wing. Volunteers are hanging garlands and arranging chairs. Miss Prentice, the head librarian, is running between them, giving instructions with surprising energy for a woman her age. Harold, she exclaims when she sees me. So glad you're here. We need help with the books for the new shelves. Can you select the children's books you think should be displayed first? I gladly agree. I spend the next few hours browsing books from classic fairy tales to contemporary stories. Each book I evaluate for what will appeal to children of different ages. It's engaging work that reminds me of the times I read to Michael and Laura before bedtime. The memories of the children no longer cause such acute pain as before. I accept the situation for what it is. They didn't grow up to be what I wanted them to be, but they're my children, and I still love them. Only now the love is more detached, without illusions or expectations. At noon, I head home to rest before the ceremony. Walking into the apartment, I see the blinking new message indicator on the answering machine. The first is from Michael, Dad. It's me. I wanted to tell you that Susan and I are coming to the library opening tonight. I know you didn't invite us, but it's a community event, and we want to support you. Call me back if you get this message." The second message is from Laura. "Dad, I'm calling to say I can't make it to the ceremony today. I have an urgent order at the shop. I need to prepare flowers for a wedding. I know it's a big day for you, and I'm really sorry. I'll call you tonight to see how it went." I smile wryly. Some things don't change. Michael probably hoped his presence at the ceremony would somehow soften me. Maybe he still thinks he can convince me to change my mind about the inheritance. And Laura, as usual, finds an excuse not to come. Urgent order is an old excuse she's used for years. After a light lunch, I start preparing for the ceremony. I shower, style my hair, put on the same dark blue suit and the tie, a gift from Margaret. Finishing getting ready. I sit in the chair to rest a bit before Ethan arrives. My gaze falls on Margaret's photo on the dresser, the only one I took from the old house. It shows her as I loved her best, smiling with a light streak in her hair, wrinkles around her eyes from her constant smile. "What would you say if you saw me now?" "Margaret," I ask her silently, "would you approve of my decisions?" And I can almost hear her answer, "You're living for yourself at last." "Harold, of course I approve." The doorbell signals Ethan's arrival. He looks excited and cheerful, wearing a strict suit that makes him look even more like his grandmother. "Grandpa, you look great," he exclaims, kissing my cheek. "Ready for your stellar hour? I don't think you can call it a stellar hour." I grin, picking up my wallet. But yes, I'm ready. On the way to the library, Ethan talks about his studies, his plans for the summer, how he and Sophia are thinking of taking a short trip along the coast. "Do you want to come with us, Grandpa?" he suddenly asks. "It would be wonderful. Quiet beaches, small coastal towns. Great food. Dear, you're a young couple." I smile. "You don't need an old man as a third wheel." "You'll never be a third wheel," Ethan says seriously. "Not to me, not to Sophia. She really wants you to come too. She says you tell the most interesting stories." I'm touched. Maybe I really could join them for a few days. It would be a new experience, traveling without obligations, without having to take care of anyone. Just for fun. I'll think about it, I promise. In the meantime, let's focus on today. When we arrive at the library, the square in front of it is already full of people. White chairs are arranged in rows in front of the temporary stage, almost all occupied. The new wing of the library, built of light brick and glass, gleams in the afternoon sun. Above the entrance hangs a gold plaque, still covered in fabric. The Margaret Jenkins wing. Miss Prentice meets us at the entrance, beaming with excitement. "Harold, at last, we've been waiting for you. Your seat is in the front row, of course, and for your grandson too." She leads us to the seats for honored guests. I spot Michael and Susan in the crowd, standing to the side, looking around uncertainly. When Michael sees me, he waves and starts heading our way. I nod in response, but don't linger, following Miss Prentice. As I sit down, I look around the crowd. Many familiar faces, neighbors from the old neighborhood, new friends from the building where I now live, parents of the children I've worked with at the library, and among them, Robert Harrington, in an elegant light gray suit. Noticing my stare, he nods slightly and smiles. After that evening at the restaurant, we've seen each other several times. He stopped by the library, seemingly by chance, when I was working there. He invited me for coffee and asked how I was settling into my new place, in his company. I feel not like an old widower, but just a man, an interesting conversationalist. The ceremony begins with the mayor's oath speech, a standard one about the importance of education and culture for the small town. Miss Prentice then speaks, talking about how long the library has needed expansion and how my donation made it possible. And now I want to invite to the stage the man who brought us all here, she announces. Mr. Harold Jenkins. I receive applause as I go up to the stage. I've never liked public speaking, but today I feel strangely calm. I know what I need to say, and I know they'll be the right words. Good afternoon, friends. I begin as the applause dies down. I'm not a great orator, so I'll be brief. This wing is named in honor of my wife, Margaret Jenkins, a woman who loved two things more than anything: her family and books. I pause, looking at the gathered people. Books open doors to other worlds. They teach us empathy, thinking, dreaming. They help us realize we're not alone in our emotions and thoughts. Margaret believed in the power of books. She read to our children every night, even though she was tired after work. She believed a good book could change a child's life. I see Michael and Susan pushing closer to the stage. Michael's face is tense, as if expecting me to say something unpleasant about him. My hope is that this new wing will be a place where Green Valley children can find books that will change their lives, where they'll learn to love reading like my Margaret did, and where they'll realize that the most important things in life aren't material possessions, but knowledge, love, and kindness. I look straight at my children. Sometimes we forget these simple truths. Sometimes we're too caught up in pursuing material things, forgetting what really matters. But it's never too late to remember. Never too late to change your life. With those words, I turn to Miss Prentice, signaling I'm done. The hall erupts in applause, and I, feeling a bit dizzy, walk down from the stage where Ethan is waiting for me. The next item on the program is the unveiling of the Margaret plaque. I'm given a large ceremonial scissors to cut the ribbon. I do so to camera flashes and renewed applause. After the formal part, a small informal reception begins with champagne, lights, and tours of the new building. Many people come up to congratulate and thank me. Michael and Susan are among them. Dad, that was really impressive, Michael says, shifting awkwardly from foot to foot. Mom would be proud. Yes, she would be. I agree. Especially if she saw her grandson, Ethan, helping organize this event. How he takes care of his grandfather. Margaret always valued family loyalty. Michael winces, understanding the hint. Dad, I know what we did was wrong, but we can fix it. Start over. Maybe, I nod. But it takes time and trust. And trust, Michael, is something you have to earn. I see Robert Harrington approaching us and feel an unusual relief. Excuse me for interrupting, he says as he approaches. Harold, Miss Prentice wants you to say a few words to the children who have explored the new section. Of course, I turn to my son. Sorry. Michael? Duty calls? Robert offers me his arm, and I gladly take it. We step back. But instead of leading me to Miss Prentice, he heads toward a quiet corner of the garden near the library. Miss Prentice didn't look for me, did she? I ask with a slight smile. Guilty, he admits. I just thought you might need an escape from a tense conversation. Thank you. I thank him sincerely. It's not easy. After all, they're still my children. I understand. Robert nods. Family relationships are always complicated. But you were right. Trust has to be earned. We sit on a bench in the shade of an old oak. We have a view of the new library wing. The gold plaque with Margaret's name on it gleams in the sun. It's beautiful, Robert says. The architect did a good job harmonizing the new wing with the old building. Yes, it's beautiful. I agree. Margaret would be pleased. We sit in silence for a while. enjoying the peace and quiet of the small garden despite the noise of the celebration nearby. "I've been thinking," Robert says suddenly. "Next weekend they're performing King Lear at the town theater. I bought 2 tickets, but my sister, who I was going with, had to leave unexpectedly to visit her daughter. Would you like to join me?" I look at him, surprised by the invitation, and there's something in his eyes. Warmth, hope, even a bit of uncertainty that makes my heart beat a little faster. "I'd like that," I reply, surprising myself with my decisiveness. Robert brightens. "Wonderful. I'll pick you up at 6 Autundra. The play starts at 7 Autundra, but I thought we could have dinner before." "Sounds great." I smile, feeling a flutter of excitement I haven't felt in years. We return to the celebration where Ethan is looking for us. "Grandpa, there you are," he exclaims. "Miss Prentice wants you to meet the kids from the summer reading club. Let's go." "Dear," I turn to Robert. "Duty calls. This time for real." "Of course." He bows slightly. "See you this weekend." The next 2 hours pass in a whirlwind of meetings, conversations, photos. I meet with the children from the reading club, tell them about Margaret's favorite books, and promise to read one to them at the next class. Answer questions from the local newspaper wanting to write an article about the opening. Listen to sincere thanks from parents whose children will use the new wing. Finally, as the ceremony comes to an end and most guests have dispersed, Ethan and I get into his car to head home. "It was a beautiful day," he says as he starts the engine. "You did great, Grandpa." "Thanks. Dear, I feel pleasantly tired." "Yes, it was a special day. I saw you talking to Mr. Harrington." Ethan glances at me with a sly look. "You two seem to get along well." "Huh." I feel warmth rush to my cheeks. "He's an interesting person to talk to," I say evasively. "Is that all?" Ethan is clearly enjoying my embarrassment. "I think there's something between you two." "Don't be silly." I shake my head, but I can't help smiling. At my age, I'm not looking for romance anymore. Why not? Ethan objects. "Age isn't a barrier to happiness." "And I've seen how he looks at you, like how I look at Sophia." I don't reply, but his words make me think, is age really a handicap? Haven't I proven to myself in these 3 months that life can start anew at any time if you decide it? When we arrive at my building, I notice a familiar car parked nearby. Laura. She's sitting on the bench in front of the driveway, obviously waiting for me. Dad. She stands up when she sees us. "I'm so glad I made it. My order finished earlier than I thought. So I decided to come." I'm glad. She holds a bouquet of flowers, not store-bought, but handmade. I can tell by the special way she arranged it. Her work is always unique. "Thank you." "Dear, I accept the flowers. They're beautiful. Can I come in?" There's uncertainty in her voice I've never noticed before. "Of course, if you're not too tired." I look at my daughter, her tense face, the way she nervously twists her bag strap. Maybe she really regrets what happened. Maybe she's trying to change. "Come on in." I open the front door. "Ethan, are you coming too?" "No. Grandpa, I have a date with Sophia." He kisses my cheek. "I'll call you tomorrow." Laura and I go up to the apartment. She looks around with obvious interest. It's her first visit here. I can see the surprise on her face. She probably expected something more modest, not this bright, spacious apartment with new furniture and a nice view from the window. "It's very nice," she finally says. "Really comfortable. Thank you." I put the bouquet in a vase. "Tea, coffee, tea, if I may." While I brew tea, Laura looks at the pictures on the walls, some old ones from the old house and many new ones. Me with the kids at the library, with new friends, with Ethan and Sophia on a recent outing. "Your life is busy," she remarks as I return with the tray. I didn't realize you were so active. Many people don't realize that. I pour tea into cups, including myself. We sit at a small table by the window. Laura is clearly nervous, not knowing where to start the conversation. The ceremony was beautiful. She finally says, "Michael called me and told me. He was very impressed. Thank you." I sip my tea. I'm glad it went well. Dad. Laura takes a deep breath. I owe you an apology for that night at the restaurant. For all the years I've been wrong. I look at her silently, waiting for her to continue. I don't know how it happened this way. She continues, staring at her cup. We were once close, and then life, worries, the shop. Everything seemed to come between us. I forgot that you're not just a father who will always be there for me. You're a person with your own feelings, your own desires, your own plans. For the first time in a long time, I see sincerity in her eyes. Thank you for those words. Laura, I say softly. They mean a lot to me. I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. She twists the cup nervously in her hands. I realize trust doesn't rebuild quickly, but I want to try. I want to be part of your life again. A real part. Not just a daughter who calls once a month. I look at my daughter, seeing in her not just a grown woman with gray temples, but also the little girl who once came to me with her joys and sorrows. Maybe that little girl is still there somewhere in her. I'd like that, I finally say. But you're right. Trust has to be rebuilt gradually, day by day. We talk into the evening. For the first time in years. We have a real conversation instead of just a few phrases. And when Laura leaves, promising to come back over the weekend, I stay by the window, looking at the darkening sky and the city lights. My new life is just beginning. A life where I'm not just a father, a grandfather, a widower, but above all, myself. Harold Jenkins. A man with so much to look forward to. In reflecting on this story, we see Harold Jenkins as a symbol of quiet strength and late life awakening. At 77, he transforms from a lonely widower burdened by neglect into a man reclaiming his dignity. His journey highlights the resilience of the human spirit, showing that it's never too late to stand up for oneself. Michael and Laura represent the pitfalls of modern life, where busy schedules and material pursuits erode family bonds. Their selfishness and lies stem from taking their father for granted, assuming he'd always be there without effort on their part. Yet, the story leaves room for redemption, as their attempts at reconciliation suggest that change is possible, if earned through genuine actions. Ethan shines as a beacon of hope, embodying the purity of intergenerational love. His unwavering care for Harold reminds us that true family connections thrive on sincerity, not obligation. And Robert Harrington adds a touch of warmth, illustrating how new friendships can bloom even in later years, offering companionship and perhaps romance. The value of this tale lies in its profound lessons. It teaches us to honor our elders, not as burdens, but as sources of wisdom and love. The core message is that trust and respect form the foundation of any relationship. Without them, even blood ties can fray. It urges us to prioritize honesty, empathy, and meaningful time with loved ones before regrets set in. On a deeper human level, the story celebrates self-worth and forgiveness. Harold's choice to donate and start anew inspires us to live authentically, giving back to community and finding joy beyond material inheritance. It reminds us that life's richest rewards come from kindness, learning, and personal growth. If this story touched you, please like and share your thoughts in the comments below. What lessons did you take away? Subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt tales and inspiring narratives. Your support means the world. Thank you for joining this journey.